I was thinking, I think it's helpful to imagine you as my children insofar, or child, insofar as I am here regardless of whether you give me attention, because I want to love you, and this is one way of doing it. And so, where with a lover they're not giving you enough attention, you leave. Or you perhaps maladaptively try to figure out ways of gaining their attention, but I'm like, the more that I try to do that, the more that I feel it is taking me away from being able to love you properly, because it starts being about the currency of attention rather than the relationship between us. And it all feels very ungrounded, because your identity is not something that I feel like I can grab onto without incredible amounts of fear. Like, we have these animal brain defense mechanisms, nervous system defense mechanisms, cultural defense mechanisms to keep us safe from the reality of what it means to be with other people. Like, there's so much violence that we have these systems to pretend isn't happening. Like, I think when you see someone in public, on public transport, let's say, who is like crazy, who is behaving outside of the normal social script, say they're making eye contact with people, they're touching people, they're talking to people, they're saying things that don't fit in the context of what you were expecting, they are impolite or nonsensical, etc., etc. Whatever is wrong, they smell in a way that isn't expected, they are dressed in a way that isn't expected. The feeling of fear and violence is not actually attached to the belief that these people, like, are going to necessarily do violence. It's that their presence reminds us that the social script is so easily broken, and that outside of that, there is a very real possibility of physical violence. And that's just like literally surrounding us all the time is the danger. But there's something to me that is freeing about reckoning with that when I have the mental fortitude to be able to, like, really feel that possibility. People become so much more concrete, like physical phenomenon. They stop being these psychic projections in your head and become like, this is a body, and that psychic projection in my head is like housed within something, and it has this weight that makes, like, the punches hit, like, people can touch you, and that breaks through in a terrifying and beautiful way, breaks through everything that we have worked so hard to build to separate ourselves from those realities where, death was just constantly around the corner. Recently, like 2 days ago, somebody from my past, a very dramatic romantic connection from my past, came back in suddenly, the way he was wont to do when we were together. Together as in situationship, not relationship. Although it's all relationship. And, it makes you reflect on things that you hadn't thought about for a while, because, it's bringing in this energy that is now a year and a half, 2 years old. And it triggered me so heavily, to all of these things. The reasons that I was drawn to him were these things that push on me. And I've been keeping myself very distant from that kind of connection with men, with romance. Not only because it doesn't feel safe, but it just doesn't... It felt like, I was, sometimes it's like you're playing Jenga, and you're just pushing and pushing on this one block, and you're so attached to this one block that you really want, and it's like you just get a lot farther if you would just find the block that wants to move. And that wasn't the block that wanted to move in my life. It's still not. And it is a choice. There was a lot of agency in me saying, I'm going to step away from men for a while. But it was also a choice that was informed by the universe, that was informed by the fact that the connections weren't going in a way that felt aligned with me, with my best life scenario, and were, causing me to be unhappy in a way that didn't feel necessary or healing or enlightening. I learned so much, but I kept thinking to myself, you've learned so much, yes, and it's great to be able to learn from every situation that you're in, regardless of how, painful it might have been. But you don't get to experience the realities where you weren't in that situation. If you were dating someone and it was really hard and toxic, there might have been a lot of love and a lot of good, but you can't have known how much good and how much love was going to meet you outside of that dynamic if you had stepped away. And I was curious to see what was here for me if I stepped away from that dynamic that wasn't feeding me. And I feel like I'm learning so much. And I do have things... I met with this connection, this old guy in my life, because it was I feel so much more tethered in my life to things that I care about that are not the affection of men. To the point where it's no matter how destabilizing this is, I know that nothing he is ever going to bring to me is going to be enough to outweigh the value and beauty of my life that exists independently of him. Which ended up being very important because, the things that he brought were not things that I want anymore. But it just sends, into a tailspin. I feel, sanctimonious BS is the phrase that has been coming to me when I'm alone. I'm in these, meetings with my church, talking about God, talking about my perspectives on God, and they're, I have a lot of time to flesh them out, and I've seen some things that brought me in very close proximity to being able to articulate that experience. It doesn't mean it feels less chaotic, certainly not, but I can say, I've met the divine, and I can talk about it, and it is a beautiful thing, and it's a gift, and I think there's value in it, and I think that there's something I can bring to the world, and it's so hard to hold on to that little spark without wrapping my whole self-worth in that identity in a way that becomes toxic and like ego-driven. But the pushing away of that desire for other people to recognize me and recognize my gifts is destructive to my life force in a different way. And it's really hard to find that balance when you are so fallible, like so deeply not but fallible, like flawed, but this feeling of striving, of that I know that I hurt people, that I know there's a reason to keep going because I feel this pain. Or that knowing that you're fallible because other people are hurting you. Like, if everyone thought I was perfect all the time and was like, you're the best, and they genuinely believed it, and everything in the creation was like, you are perfect, you are the best, it would probably be like, well, yes, I'm perfect and I'm the best. But it's like, we are in this interwoven, tangled web of suffering and joy, and the love carries with it a lot of baggage. So you know that, and you know that that is an important part of life, because every time that you start to say, oh no, it's good, it's light, it's joy, it's love, it takes me away, it feels like I'm only seeing one side of life, and that to like truly, truly love and see the beauty, I have to acknowledge the pain in a profound way, like in a profound way that says like, bad is fundamental. Bad is not just a mistake of creation. Bad is necessary. Like, I see the bad in you, and I see that you would not be lovable without it. So how can I call it a mistake? And yet, if it didn't feel like this rift, it wouldn't be bad. And so there is this mistake quality to it. So I see that in myself. I see that in other people. In my relationships, like recognizing that I've deeply hurt the people that I love in ways that I need to recognize in order to move past it and not repeat those choices that did that. Or feeling that understanding that happened is important to the growth of moving beyond it. Hurting them in new ways. Hopefully better ways. More complicated ways. But on the other hand, I have been told from these societal structures, from people who were supposed to love me in my formative years in so many ways, that I should hate myself and I should think badly of myself, because if I think too high of myself, I'll get hurt. If I love myself too much, nobody else will love me. It will scare them off. And so when somebody says that I have been unkind, says that I am crazy, says that I'm, whatever flaw, whatever bad quality I'm being told to possess, it's really hard to untangle, like, there is an element of truth to that, to the ways that I've hurt, that I don't want to become numb to. But to fully take it in the way that it lands is not truth and is incredibly counterproductive to me being better at loving. And that there are probably ways that I was not being unkind, that I was not crazy, that are hard to swallow because I don't fit the metric of, like, who is allowed to be sane in our society. And how porous of a boundary that is, depending on the ideas that we are willing to accept and the ones that are too difficult or challenge that survival instinct too much. As much as the dynamic between us, like, removes our humanity on both sides, I think that forgetting that men are people is not going to be the way forward. But at the same time, men are people becomes men are superior so quickly in a way that is so insidious and hard to detangle, and that is so pervasive that you look and find very few spaces that will counteract it. But it's not that serious. It's, like, so chill. I'm like, whatever. I'm 22, guys. I'm, like, literally, what do I know? I'm just a blonde. Like, I'm a dumb blonde, and I just want to have fun. It's hard out here. You don't smoke, you don't do drugs, you don't drink. What's a girl supposed to do to relax? Who am I? Who am I? Who am I? Who am I? Who does she think she is? I'm Morgan freaking Prescott. Take it or leave it.